I'm going to make challah tonight and explain the science behind all the ingredients. First, the recipe calls for 8 to 10 cups of flour, so I'm going to put 8 cups in. And I'm using King Arthur all-purpose flour. It's a flour that's in between the bread flour and cake flour. And the reason behind that is bread flour may make it too chewy, and then the bread or the cake flour will be too crumb-like. I'm going to add 2 packages of active dry yeast to warm water. I've measured it out to a half cup, and it is between 105 to 110 degrees. And the yeast needs warm water in order to activate and procreate. And then I'm also going to include a tablespoon of sugar so the yeast can feed on it and grow. So I'm going to add the sugar first. And here's 1 package. And then here's the second package. Now for yeast is going to feed on the sugars and cause carbon dioxide bubbles. So I'm going to wait till that bubbles up. Next, I'm going to measure the oil. It calls for 2/3 cup of oil, and I'm using pure canola oil. And then the recipe calls for a cup of sugar, and since I already used I'm going to use the half cups. And just put it in this bowl. Recipe also calls for 3 eggs, and then 1 egg will be used as a brush over it so it gets that nice golden top. Now that I have most of the ingredients that I'll need out, in the mixer bowl I'm going to combine the sugar and the oil and salt. That I was supposed to add a cup and a half of boiling water to the sugar and salt and canola oil. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to mix this. I've got a dough needle on the KitchenAid outlet because I'll be making dough. Put the cover on it so it doesn't spray it on me. Lock it in place. I'm just going to put it on low. Okay, the liquid is going to blend the sugar and the salt together. And as you can see here, the yeast is bubbling right now. I'm going to get a fork to mix that up. So this is what I just started. I let this one kind of sit there, and it's obviously gotten bigger. So I'm going to take both forks, this fork goes with that one, and I'm going to add the yeast in with the oil and everything else. It was very bubbly, so it got the carbon dioxide reaction that I wanted. And I've mixed it just a little bit. And the recipe says to add in the 3 eggs, but slowly. So I'm going to add 1 at a time. I'm going to use this bowl as a discard. also says to slowly add flour, so I'm going to add in this little hole here. This is where the flour will start to blend to make gluten because it's got moisture in it, so the gliadin and the glutenin are going to form gluten, which will strengthen the dough and cause it to be very stretchy. What I'm noticing right now is that the flour and the yeast are mixing together. The yeast is feeding off of the sugars, and it's right now forming a dough. It's getting a little bit thicker. The mixer's having a harder time of moving it around because the yeast is still trying to rise. I'm still trying to add more flour into it. What's going to happen after I get all the yeast mixed, or the dough off the dough needle, I'm going to finish mixing in the flour and let it rise for a little bit. The dough right now looks like this. The next thing that you'll see is me kneading the dough. Kneading the dough will ensure that the elasticity, the gluten is all formed together and there are no holes in it that could happen. Because if there are holes in it, I know it wouldn't be mixed all the way. And the gluten wouldn't form correctly.